A property gets sold, contract is signed. Seems simple, right? But what happens when a single payment creates two different tax bills? And one of them is for money that has just vanished. All right, let's get right into it. At the absolute heart of this entire mess is this number, 9,900 euros. See, a property deal was done, a contract was followed, but when the dust settled, this exact amount of money had completely disappeared into a legal black hole. And this is where it gets really weird. The company that bought the property swore they paid every single cent they were supposed to. But the seller, a woman named Nora, never saw that money. She never got any benefit from it. So how on earth can money be both paid and yet completely gone at the same time? To figure this out, we have to go back to the beginning. Because this isn't just about spreadsheets and legal clauses. It's about Nora. She decided to sell a huge piece of property. We're talking over 100 hectares of land. It was supposed to be a clean, simple transaction. Instead, it turned into an absolute nightmare. The deal itself looked perfect on paper. The contract stated one clear, total price, 330,000 euros. Nora sells the land, the company pays her the money. What could possibly go wrong? And, for a while, everything went off without a hitch. The contract was signed in April, 6 months later the payment comes through, and the property officially changes hands. It wasn't until later, when Nora sat down to do her taxes, that this 9,900 euro time bomb finally went off. Okay, this is where the whole thing starts to unravel. The contract didn't just say pay Nora 330,000 euro. No, it split the payment. It told the company to send the bulk of it to Nora, but to send a very specific slice, our missing 9,900 euros, directly to the state on her behalf. This one little detail is the key to the whole disaster. So you have to be asking, why? Why on earth would the contract demand such a strange split payment? Well, it was all based on one single critical assumption about Nora, an assumption that turned out to be dead wrong. And boom, there it is, the critical mistake. Everyone involved, Nora, the company, their lawyers, they all thought she was a non-resident for tax purposes. If she was, the law would have required the buyer to withhold 3%, that's our 9,900 euros, for her taxes. But she wasn't. She was a tax resident. That law didn't apply to her at all. The entire payment structure was built on a shared fantasy. So imagine Nora's shock when she filed her taxes. She's expecting that 9,900 euros to be credited to her bill, but instead, the tax authority comes back and says, sorry, we have this payment from the company, but we legally cannot apply it to your account. So now Nora is stuck in this bureaucratic nightmare. The company sent the money, the state has the money, but the state can't give it to Nora. The tax authority says that only the company who made the payment can ask for it back or get it reassigned. But when Nora went to the company and asked for help, they refused, flat out. Her 9,900 euros was now in limbo, completely untouchable. With nowhere else to turn, Nora took the company to court. The court did not focus on emotion. It asked one key legal question. It all boiled down to this one thing. The contract says the total price is 330,000 euros. So can you really say that price has been fully paid if a chunk of it was sent off in a way that gave the seller absolutely zero benefit? And let me tell you, this wasn't a quick fix. This legal battle wasn't settled in one afternoon. Nora's case had to climb all the way up the judicial ladder, being looked at by 3 different levels of the court system. It started out in the district court. When that didn't go the company's way, they pushed it up to the regional court of appeal. And when that failed, they took their last shot with the Supreme Court. So, round 1. The district court takes a look at all the evidence, all the arguments, and they come back with a clear decision. They sided with Nora. They agreed she was still owed that money. And the reasoning was actually pretty simple and powerful. They basically said, look, just read the contract. It says the total purchase price is 330,000 euros. That $9,900 wasn't some random fee, it was part of the price. The whole point of that payment was to help Nora with her taxes. Since that benefit never happened, in fact, was legally impossible, then the price wasn't fully paid, period. Well, the company was having none of it. They immediately appealed. Their argument was as simple as it was stubborn. Hey, we just did what the contract told us to do. It said send this much here and that much there. We followed the instructions to the letter. So at the appeals court, it broke down like this. The company argued the real price was just the money Nora got in her bank account. The court said, nope, the contract says a total price of $330,000. The company said, but we paid it exactly as written. The court replied, yeah, but paying it in a way that was legally useless doesn't count as fulfilling the deal's purpose. Then the company tried to blame Nora, but the court called it what it was, a mutual mistake. And since only the company could get the money back, the debt was still theirs to pay. The appeal failed. But they weren't giving up. The company decided to take this all the way to the top. They made one last-ditch appeal to the highest court in the nation, the Supreme Court. And this is where the road ended. There was no dramatic final act twist. The Supreme Court looked over everything from the lower courts and pretty much said, we don't see a problem here. The other courts got it right. They declined to even hear the full case. And with that, it was officially over. Nora had won. So after all of that, what's the big lesson here? What does Nora's incredibly frustrating journey for her own money actually teach us? Well, it really comes down to a fundamental idea about what an agreement even is. It really makes you wonder, right? When two parties sign a deal that's built on a fundamental error, who has to clean up the mess? Is it the party that just blindly followed the flawed instructions? Or is it the party that never got the benefit they were promised in the first place? In the end, for Nora, the law came through. The courts ordered the company to pay her that missing 9,900 euros. Because in their eyes, the company's job wasn't just to follow a checklist, it was to make sure Nora actually received the full 330,000 euros she was owed. And maybe that's the real lesson here. A contract isn't just a list of words. It's not a computer program where you just execute the code. It's an agreement with a goal and intention. And when following the literal words of a contract completely defeats its own purpose, the law is going to look deeper to find the true spirit of the deal. One decision changed everything. Watch the next case right here and subscribe for more real stories.